Maseches Bava Kama Daf Pei Aleph Amud Aleph. We're at the very bottom of Pei Amud Beis. Pei Amud Beis in the very bottom of the page. This shows Lo Nishmas Lo B'Meir Menachem Ben Akiva Utzbas Shalom Sobas Moshe ben Marcela Le Refuas Noch Lionel ben Yulia Oriya and Rivka Bas Yehudis Bas Rivka Shmuel Avram ben Yehudis Sarah Bas Nechama Besoch Shochel Esol Pnina Bas Geula Rochel Besoch Shochel Esol Tono Abonon. Our rabbis taught us Asorot Noin Hitna Yehoshua. When Bnei Israel came to the land of Israel with Joshua, Asorot Noin, he made 10 conditions. These are not called takonos. Yehoshua made 10 different conditions on people with the people. If you inherit the land, this is a condition that we're going to have some kind of social agreements between us. Most of those social agreements have to do with the fact that people should not behave like Sdom, and people should not be very nitpicking or miserly, and people should be mevater to each other. People should, there's no English word for mevater, because giving in is already kilo, I'm losing something. Mevater means to give in without feeling you lost. It's to happily give to somebody else. Asot noin hitna Yehoshua. Now, we're supposed to have 10 different conditions. Let's count them. Let's count them all. Here they come, one by one. Number one, Shumerein b'choshin. That's number one. Shumerein b'choshin means since you are allowed to have behema daka, where are you allowed to breed behema daka in Eretz Yisrael? In which areas? In the greater Beth Shemesh area or in Jerusalem? Where? Only in where? Yehopitzville, in the boondocks where nobody lives, which is in the forest. Yeah, back and beyond in the forest. Now, believe it or not, the forest sometimes is also owned by someone. The forest might be owned by someone. Today it's Kakal, but back then there were parts of the Shvatim that were owned the forest. So Yeshua made it now that the owner of the forest should not be makpid if the animals graze in his forest. Of course, there's a limitation to that, but we're going to see the limitations to each and every condition. But condition number one, that if you're a forest owner, you should not be makpid if people come with their behema daka to graze over there, to shepherd them there. That should be okay with you, and we're going to see all the details later. That's number one. Number zwei, melaktin eitzim bis doiseihem. One is allowed to pick eitzim, pick twigs, yeah, and actually we're going to see later that you're allowed to, in order to feed your animal, you're allowed to pull out a certain type of vegetation from everywhere. Bis doiseihem, in from anyone's field, regardless of the type of field. I need to feed my animal, I can pick up some kind of, I wouldn't say trees, here eitzim is trees, is I would call it later on, we'll see, we're talking about thorny bushes, and I'm allowed to give that to my animal. I assume that's behema gasa because it's going around in everyone's field. Number three, umalaktim asovim bechol mokom chutz mitiltan. Another thing you're allowed to pick, you're allowed to take, you're allowed to pull out are the asovim, grass. You're allowed to take herbs, not herbs as healthy herbs, like, bad weeds, weeds and grass. You're allowed to take them from everywhere except for tiltan. Tiltan is fenugreek, I think. Fenugreek. Thank you. Yeah, good. Fenugreek is tiltan. If the grass grows near the tiltan, then that causes a loss to the field of tiltan, of the fenugreek, and we're going to see why today. Where are we holding? I think number three, right? We had, my animal is allowed to graze in the forest, and he cannot say anything. I'm allowed to pick the trees, the bushes, and also the herbs, the grass. Number four, the koitmin netios bechol mokoim chutz migufios shel zayis. I'm allowed to actually, if I need wood, pieces of wood, and I would say not wood. Wood is not the word. I need twigs. I need small branches. I'm allowed to take the small branches from anywhere, not even in order to feed my animal. I need it in order to have my own tree. I want to take one twig of your tree in order to graft it into my tree and make a new one. That's all profit. I'm allowed to do that except for grufiot shel zayis. The zayis, the olive tree, and we'll see other exceptions later, the olive tree has like two egrofim. Grufiot comes from egroif. There's the size of two egroifim, that two fists of the human being that are at the bottom of the zayit, of the olive tree, and that part, maybe other places, and that part replenishes the other branches. If you take out this, if you pull out that part of the zayis, that the entire zayis, the entire olive tree will be dead, will not be able to replenish. And therefore, even though you're allowed to pick a twig here and there from the zayis, it's limited, and you can't take the basis from which all other branches grow. That's number what? 4. Number 5. Let's say there is a ma'ayan, there is a spring of water gushing out betchila. Many times it happens. A new spring is discovered. Either somebody dug deep enough, or all of a sudden, I don't know, geyser, a whole new, not geyser, that's something else. What? Geyser, okay. Okay, geyser. Okay. Let's say there's a spring that starts, that begins betchila, even not in the times of Yehoshua. At any given moment, somebody discovers the spring in his own backyard. Wow. Here there's a big machlokas what it means between the Tosfos and the Rambam. B'nai mistapkin mimenu means, according to Tosfos, if you're lucky enough to all of a sudden have a new spring gushing out of your land, in your field, you're not allowed to keep it just for yourself. The entire Bnei Ir, you should give it to the other denizens of your city should also enjoy from it. You enjoy it. You can't benefit from it. You cannot keep it just for yourself, because this is water. This is something important. This is something vital, and you can't give them the water bill at the end of the day. Tosfos asks the question that we see in Avodah Zarah, that sometimes you have a river which is privately owned. How can you have a river privately owned? Every river starts from a spring, from the source. So says Tosfos 2 answers in 3 different places. Here in 2 places of Avodah Zarah, Tosfos says like this. If the person dug it himself, he really searched and searched, they were searching for gold or for black gold, or searching for water, and he found water. If it was his own hard work, hard labor, then he's allowed to keep it for himself. But if it's something that's naturally there, in the Eibishter, then he's not allowed to keep it for himself. He should really allow everybody else to go there, to enjoy it. Another answer is if the entire river runs through your backyard. Yeah, I know somebody in England that had a river going through his backyard. So then if the entire river goes through a backyard, then nobody is allowed to say, hey, we're going to go into your private backyard and take the water from there. Only if the water starts from you and continues into other people, they're allowed to take the part that's in their domain, that starts eventually flowing out of your domain, out of your reshus, then others are allowed to take. But whatever is in your domain, in your reshus, people can't just barge in and take. So either you worked on it privately in order to get it, it wasn't natural, then it's private, or if it's in your domain, then it's private. Now that's what the Tosfos says. The Rambam says that this is the only takana which is actually more miserly, that only b'nei Yer mistapkin imenu. If there's a river that's in town, and then other cities are not allowed to enjoy that river, are not allowed to take from that river, from that spring. If the river starts by us in Beth Shemesh, we discover a new river, only Beth Shemesh people, the people from other cities are not allowed to take unless they pay money, but otherwise no. Okay, depends if it goes into their domain. Even then, I'm not sure the Rambam would allow them to take. That's a different question. Gichon, yeah. Even in their domain, could be if it starts by us, then the entire river belongs to the ones Maya and Yoitze. Wherever the spring started, that entire river may belong to them. The entire Nile belongs to Uganda, according to that, not to Egypt. Yeah, first of all, yeah, 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 Sora, Sora.
How do you
Which number are we in, Yitzchak? F in, okay, A, B, C, D, E, F, number 6. Okay, that's how they count it with English. Okay, weiter. Number 6. And okay, umechakin b'yam shel Tveria. If you go to the Kinneret, you're allowed to be mechake. Mechake doesn't mean to wait over here. It means chaka. Yeah, chaka means hook, line, and sinker. Yeah, chaka is a fishing rod. You're allowed to fish in Tveria. You're allowed to fish in the Kinneret, as many people do today. That's allowed. It's not an avera to fish in Tiberias in the Sea of Galilee, also known as Kinneret. You're allowed to do it. As long as you don't actually have an entire system over there with sticks inside the ground with a net. You can't have like a net, an underwater net, as some people do, yeah, in order to catch all the fish. But Yami de Saspina. Yami de Saspina, I'm not sure if it means you're not allowed to have a fishing boat standing there. You're not allowed, it's too much. Or it means to say that because you have that net stuck in the middle of the Kinneret, it stops the boats. What will all the kids do? You know, all the banana boats and all that. You may ask the question, why should there be any limitation in fishing from the Kinneret? Because again, we're talking about private property. The Kinneret belongs to one shevet called Naphtali. The shevet of Naphtali, they had the Kinneret. It was their private property. And if I'm from Reuven, you're not from Gad, I'm from Menashe, I'm from whichever, from Dan, then who says I'm allowed to fish in their private pond called the Kinneret? Kamash Malan, that again, you have to not be so mercenary, you have to be generous, says Yehoshua to the children of Israel. And therefore you have to, what do you have to do? You, Naphtali people, have to be generous and allow them to fish. How? To fish only with fishing rods. Stand there nicely with your son, and catch the fish. Yeah, hook, line, and sinker. But you're not allowed to have the entire fishing system over there in a more industrial way. That's reserved only to them. Only Naphtali people, Naphtali Kaplan, only the Naphtali people, which are the real owners of the Kinneret, they are the ones who are allowed to have more industrial, big kind of fishing system. Yes.
Naphtali, here's the sugi is not talking about fishing, but we skipped over the Kinneret regarding water. Regarding that, I think a natural.
Why did we skip? Why did we skip?
It's a natural source of water. But everybody should be able to bathe them.
Mistaber them not. We just said otherwise. Mistaber the Kinneret for drinking would be only for Naphtali.
No, I mean, if you made it yourself, then you have the right to it. If it comes naturally, you can't.
You don't Toises or Rambam, first of all. First of all, the Kinneret doesn't start in one's private backyard. It's too big. Secondly, first of all, the Kinneret doesn't start in the Kinneret. It starts in a banyas, and it has a few sources. One of them is banyas. So let's rephrase the whole thing. If somebody is a private owner of the banyas natural reserve, and it's his own thing, enachinami, then according to Tosfos, that area, with as long as the river flows in his area, it's his and it's private. Once it flows out, it belongs to everybody. And the Kinneret is too big to be owned by one person. It belongs to everybody. However, according to the Rambam, enachinami, if the Kinneret is by one city, which I doubt one city owns all Kinneret, maybe a bunch of cities, then other cities are not allowed to benefit from that. Enachinami could be no. Kinneret is only 1/3 of the water source in Israel, not like we were taught. It's only 1/3. There are many other sources, other springs. Oh, I hear. So that's good. Thank you for applying the previous takonatry. That's a very good tushto. Weiter. Next one, where are we? 7? Number 7. Benifni lachor agoder. If you have to be excused, yeah, you have to be mitpaneh. You have to go to toilet and do the big thing in toilet. In anybody else's field, you're allowed to go behind the fence. Yeah, the field kalkum. Even in a field full of kalkum is saffron, right? It's very, very yellow. It has very, very strong yellow color. It was ancient kind of food coloring. And even if you have a field full of kalkum, and kalkum is very gentle and is very sensitive to smell and very, finicky kind of flower, still you're allowed to excuse yourself and do a big thing in the field of anybody else. Why? About the shaktun, you're not allowed to actually wait and hold yourself back when it comes to toilet halachically, and teachers do it to children, and it's a crime. It's a crime what teachers do to children, and I'm saying this online, and I hope teachers listen to me. It's an absolute crime. Sometimes it's even during times when the children can go out and the teachers just don't care, and it's a chutzpah neiro. And I'm saying it in a mature way. Believe me, I'm not talking when the kid is just trying to get out of the class and it's a whole game. I'm saying kids sometimes really need. There were cases of kids who actually, I'm saying it online, not necessarily pished in the class because the teacher didn't care, and the teachers are going to pay for it in Olam Haz and Olam Haba. And I just said that. That was for medical reasons. With you meant Rav Shmuel, medical reasons. The teacher doesn't do it for medical. What? Good. Right there. Mehalchim b'shvilei hareshus ad shetered revia shniya, which means shvilei hareshus means when a field. We're number 8. Okay. When you have a field and the field is in the, how shall I say, down season, in a vacation season. I don't mean Shemitah. In the summer, after you already collected all your grains and they're not in the field anymore, that's between, let's say, already Iyar, Sivan, you collected everything, Av for sure, Av, Elul, Tishrei, those months, there's nothing happening in the field. The field is empty. When will you start plowing and sowing again and planting? In Cheshvan, right? That's when we pray for rain. So now, Mehalchim b'shvil hareshus. Let's say I want to walk in someone else's field, and it doesn't bother him. During the summer, it was natural for people to allow other people to walk through their fields. That's why, if you remember, a few times the Gemara says that a field in the summer is Reshus Harabim, because many people walk through. That even Yehoshua didn't have to be metaken. Yehoshua was metaken shvile hareshus, the shvilim, the path, the roads that are in the field, that reshus, we're allowed to walk naturally. You're allowed to walk there ad shetered revia shniya. The chiddush was until the second rain supposed to come, which in halacha there are specific times when we expect rain that's coming for davening, and that's in Yud Zayin Cheshvan, not Zayin Cheshvan. Zayin Cheshvan is the first one. Yud Zayin Cheshvan is the time of the second rain. So Yehoshua said, I extend the time of allowing your friend to walk through your field until Yud Zayin Cheshvan, because up until there, it doesn't really bother you. It doesn't bother you really until it's on Cheshvan. No, the Kamina, the Gemara will say in Babel, it's different, but no. But all these things also will be discussed later, each one. Quick. We're talking about people walking, not people, not animals.
If animals are actually giving you a benefit, then it's
Okay.
okay.
I hear. Said it. I hear. Okay, good. When we stalking, number 9? When we stalking, let's see the adrochim mipnei yesedus adrochim. Even when the field is actually already fully grown, it's all growing over there. One's allowed to be mistalik. Let's say walking in a path between different fields. There are different fields, and you're walking in a road between the fields. Now you're allowed to actually go out of your way into someone's field, but to the side of the field. Sida drochim. You are now allowed to walk by the side road of the field. Mipnei yesedus adrochim. What's yesedus adrochim? Because of the sticks of the ways. What does it mean, the sticks? Says Rashi, we all know that the earth in the summer gets very, a lot of cracks in it, very cracky. Yeah, it's very hard to walk over there. We don't live like that. We're urban people. Yeah, it gets very not nice in the summer. So there, even if the field is growing for whichever reason, you're allowed to walk because the road is so uncomfortable and inconvenient. Then, even if the field of your friend is full of vegetation, you're allowed to walk in the corner as long as you do your best not to, of course, step all over his produce. Then it's okay because the derech is just not usable right now. Number 9. No, you're missing something. There was 9. Now it's 10. Ba'atoye ben akromim. Somebody who's toyeh. What's the difference between toyeh with taf and toyeh with tes? Taf, a toyeh means what? The one who is lost. Yeah. Toyeh with tes means mistaken. Toyeh with taf means lost. No, we're 10 now. We're in 10. Ba'atoye ben akromim mafsik v'oilo mafsik v'yored. Somebody who got lost amongst the kromim. You have a kerem, you have a vineyard, and it's very heavily, densely, not populated, densely growing. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff growing one next to the other, like your old jungle. And you lost your way there. You completely lost, and you can't tell the forest from the trees. You can't tell where you are. What do? You're allowed to cut. Mafsig is you're allowed to cut the different twigs and different branches in order to find your way. Try to not hurt the vegetation too much. But if you're really lost, you're allowed to pick boom, boom, boom in order to pave yourself a path in the middle of someone else's field within reason. So now we finished number 10, and we have number 11. Oops, stop. Mace mitzvah koine mekoimoi. Mace mitzvah, a person who died in the middle of someone else's field, is a mace mitzvah because nobody's going to bury him except for whoever saw him first. He is allowed to be buried in the spot where he died. Yeah, you're not supposed to schlep him to a different place. I guess it's not covered for the mace. And therefore, even if Reuven died in the middle of the field of Shimon, Shimon's supposed to now have a grave for Reuven in the middle of his field. What is he going to do if he has a kohen? Good question. Most kohanim didn't have fields anyways. But Lamaise, you can have a situation in which someone is buried in someone else's field, because that's where he died. If that's a spot where he died, then his kohen, Hikilo, acquires his place. We will not discuss this today. The last ones we're going to discuss Imret Hashem tomorrow. Now we can start discussing. So first of all, we have 11 instead of 10. That's going to be a question of the Gemara later on. How come we said we promised 10 and we have 11? That's going to be one of the questions later. Okay? Any questions now before we start? Just specific and short? Yes? Good. Because now everything will be discussed and I'll be willing to hear your questions as well. There are tnoim. They're more than takono. In other words, a tnai means a condition. You want to have the land? It's on condition, because one would say, no, I don't want to give my water to somebody else. I don't want to give my twigs. I don't want to give my field to the mace. As you see, most of them, if not all of them, except for one of them for the Rambam, it's all about giving in and being a good neighbor, basically. Yeah, so being a good neighbor, the way it's represented in those 10 takonas, is not just a nice advice, it's actually a condition. Don't tell me it's my land and my water and my twigs and my herbs and my beim and my this. It's not yours. It's yours because Joshua bin Nun gave it to you. So he made a condition. It's al menasa. Give you this, right? Somebody gives the Abu the one a gift with a condition. I'm giving you $100 in condition. You don't buy alcohol with it. So you can't buy alcohol. Don't tell me truth. By the way, that's Ashkafas about everything. People say, why should I keep mitzvahs? It's my body and my money. No, it's not your body and it's not your money. And it's not your wife and it's not your children. It's all Hashem's, and He's giving you all these things in order to serve Him. Nothing is ours in Olam Hazeh. It's all on condition that we serve Hashem. Let's start now the first one. Shiur tudats line starts mekoymai tudats zehut. Shiur merein b'chorshin. So animals are allowed to graze in the choresh, in the forest, in the grove. What's the chiddush? A big chiddush. The owner of the forest cannot say anything. Is there a limitation to that? Because those animals, we said, are going to eat everything, right? If they eat everything, if they eat the grass, then he's not going to have a forest anymore. Answers the Gemara. You're only allowed to have a behemoth daka, the little one, the sheep and the goats, begasa, in a forest that has big, chunky, stout trees, big trees. So they're allowed to take from the big trees, let's say, they can gnaw or eat the little twigs of a real tree, real hardcore tree, because they're not going to finish it. The little animals, they eat the grass, as Yitzchok said, and the grass to finish off. But if they graze on a eucalyptus, I don't know, on a big tree, on a fir tree, they're not going to finish the entire tree. They don't even reach that high. So that's allowed, because here you're being nice to both. The animal owner says, I need to feed my shepsele, and the forest owner remains with most of his big trees. Aval daka bedaka, a small animal with small vegetation, grass, herbs, weeds, is not allowed. The gasa, the big cows, they eat more. They reach higher, they eat more. The beima gasa, as we say in Iran, beima gasa. Beima gasa, eating the big trees is not allowed. The kol sheken gasa bedaka deloy, and of course the cow to eat from the grass for sure not. So the only thing we're allowed in the forest, and we tell the forest owner, be mevater, we say when? We say if the forest is a real forest with big trees, like you imagine a forest, and the small animals, all they eat, the shepherd has to make sure that they only eat off the big trees, maybe small twigs that come off the big tree, but they can't start eating you have an area there with just weeds, they can't eat that because that will finish it off. And maybe he needs it for his own animals, for his own things. And anyway, it's not good to finish off the vegetation of the land regardless of gzela. I told you. It's just not environmental. You see, environment in halacha. Maybe that should be the title. Environmental rules in halacha. They'll get me a lot of Googling. PR. Thank you, Bar. Umelaktin eitzim misdoiseyem. One is allowed to take etz. Etz, I thought, means a tree. That's what the Ulpan teacher taught me. Yeah. So one's allowed to take pieces of wood, twigs, trees from the sod of his friend and feed his animal. That's a bargain. Says for the animal owner, not for the tree owner. Says the Gemara, hold it, hold it, hold it. Here too, there are limitations, there are rules, there are conditions. That is only true, and that's a huge condition. Hizmi vehigi, as we always know in Aramaic, means thorns. If you have a thorny bush, a thorny tree, it's all full of thorns, and some animals love to eat thorns actually, then it's good, something that's actually nice for them. Yeah, for sure, 100%. Yeah. Look online. Behizmi vehigi, or don't look online. Behizmi vehigi, yeah. Hizmi vehigi, which is something not so appetizing for anybody, except for the animal, that's okay. Ava b'shar eitzim loy. But other trees, you can't just give your animal other trees. Va'afilu behizmi vehigi, even the thorns are also limited. We qualify that too. Only when they're still intact and actually attached to the ground. When the thorns are actually still growing, you're allowed to take them and feed your animal. Aval betlushin loy. But if they're already talush, if the Baal Habayis, Baal Asode already picked them, already pulled them out, which means he prepared them for his own animal, or if they're dry, he prepared them for fire, don't touch them. You see, you see a heap on the floor, somebody actually took the time and effort to pull it out. He's probably the owner, so don't touch that. If it's still attached to the ground, then the condition is I can still use it for my animal. Another qualification, even by mechubarim, even if the thorns are still attached to the ground, only if they're still moist. If they're moist, then you're allowed to take them. If they're dry, no. In other words, if the thorns are dry, they're super extra good for what? For burning fire. Yeah, they're very good as combustible. They're used for his fire, and people used fire in the past more than today. It wasn't just a cool thing to do. That's how they heated their houses, right? And they cooked their food. So if you have a thorny bush which is dry, you can't even pull it out. Another condition, and then I'll listen to you. So the only thing you're allowed to take off your friend's field from the trees is extremely limited. Only thorns that are still moist and still connected to the ground. So if you have a thorny bush that is still attached to the ground, it's fully intact in the ground, and it's still moist, so you can't use it for firewood right now. The Balabais didn't yet take care of it, so we can still use that seemingly hefker thing, providing shaloi sharish. You don't mamish pull it out from the ground. You don't eradicate the entire shorish. You can't, pull it out and pull with it the root. You should cut it with a scythe or something, with a sickle, with a knife, and make sure that the root stays in the ground and it can replenish and grow again. But otherwise, no. So there's lots of conditions over there. So if some Amoritz tells you, Yehoshua says you can take the trees from your friend's field, you tell him there are 4 different conditions before you do that. Yes, Baruch, I'll be more than happy to hear you now. And you are next, Rabbi Ellen. Yes, weiter. Umelaktin asovim. After the 2 dots comes the next one. Umelaktin asovim b'chol mokom chutz misdet tiltan. You're allowed to pick the asovim, that's just the regular weeds, that you can take from anywhere, except for sdet tiltan. If it's a field of fenugreek, you're not allowed to take the asovim from there, because the asovim there, with all due respect to your animal that has to eat, the asovim over there cannot be taken if it's near the fenugreek, because the tiltan needs the herbs. It needs the weed, the grass, whatever you call it. He needs it. And therefore, you're ruining the chances of the tiltan to grow. Tiltan is not just a bad weed. It's actually an agriculture product. He's going to sell it, Sharad, Inyesh, is going to, and now you're ruining it for him. Frag the Gemara, Lemeimra, are you telling me the tiltan ma'alula asovim? Are you telling me that the tiltan asovim ma'alu, are they good for it? Are you telling me that asovim and tiltan is a good shidach and they help the tiltan grow? Is that so? Interesting. Ramini, I'll ask you a question from the Mishnah in Kilaim. Ramini means that we're juxtaposing 2 things of the same level. This is a brisa, this is a Mishnah. Here we say the tilton is good for the grass. Look what the Mishnah says the Mishnah, tilton also imine asovim. Let's say you have tilton that naturally grew together with other types of grass, of herbs, and it grew together in a way that is too close for halachic comfort, because it is called kilaim with the Rabbanon. Of course, only with the Rabbanon. With the Raisa, there's no kilaim in tilton or asovim. Rabbanon said anything that grows together, mamish in proximity. I'm not going to the details. Rabbanon said kilo yerokois are also kilaim, so you should eradicate them. But look what the Mishnah says: Ein mechayvin oisolakor. We don't force. So for the halachic police, the BSD police doesn't go to the person's field and tell him you pull that out, and they would. Yeah, there would be police running around the country. Yeah, it would be halachic state. And what? And instead of telling you parked in blue and white, or I don't know what, you did something wrong according to Medina, you're not nice enough to, I don't know, the parade, whatever. Instead of doing that, they actually made sure that people pull out kilaim, because kilaim, any second it grows together, is bad. But this one, you don't force him to pull out. You know why? Not because it's good together. It's so bad together, you don't have to tell him to pull it out. He'll do it anyways. Did you ever have to force a child of 3 years old to eat a yummy ice cream? No, I don't think so. Yeah, unless it's really whatever. Yeah. In other words, things that you do naturally, nobody has to force you. So here we see that the tilton and the sovim are so bad together that any normal field owner would pull them out anyways. The police shouldn't waste their time on that. If so, we see that it's bad together. Why do you say they're good together? You okay? Yeah. Omar Rav Yirmiyah says Rav Yirmiyah lo kasha. Rav Yirmiyah comes and answers different ways to differentiate and mechalik between the two cases. Kan lezera, kan lezeirin. Zera means that why did you grow this tilton? What's the purpose of this tilton? Are you growing it? Are you raising it for the zera? Zera either means I want to have for the seeds, because I want to plant the seeds again to have another tilton field. Or one could also say zera to eat the zera. The zera, the actual the seed. Thank you. The seed is the name of the game here. Yeah, the zera. Or kan lezeirin. Zeirin are actually the stalks. Yeah, sometimes use it for stalks for your animal to eat. The tilton stalks themselves are good for animal food, but also privately owned. Lezera, the word explains. Lezera kashula asovim demakre shilo. If the purpose of the tilton is for the zera I guess is something more fine, smaller. I don't know. Has to be more delicate, kept better. It's the seed inside, and the asovim next to it are bad. I assume they take all the power, right? They take all the energy, they suck the energy, and it's not good for the zera. And any normal field owner would right away pull it out. He doesn't need anybody to tell him. But lezeirin, when you talk about in our Mishnah, when we said you can't take the asovim next to tilton because it's good for the tilton, that's lezeirin. When you need it for the stalks, ma'alilo, the chikaimi beine asovim mirkeva. Explains the Gemara. When all you need are actually the stalks, and you want the stalks to grow nice, like the stock market. I'm confusing S-T-O-C-K with S-T-A-L-K. Get it? Yeah. In other words, yeah, I'm not trying to be smart. I'm saying that if you want the stocks to grow, yeah, I just know somebody who's studying this all the time nowadays, a person who studies the stock market, that's a course, not me. So then, let's say the person wants the stocks to grow. He wants the asovim to be all around, because this way the arochev, they basically are being supported by the other grass, the other shrubs, because this way they get supported, says Rashi, just like a vineyard, right? The vine always needs sticks to be supported. So if all you want is nice, big, long stalks, it's very good for the asovim to be there. And mainly, if you take out the grass, then you cause the tilton to fall. If it's there, adrabah, it's better. But if it's for the stalks, it's not good. So although you're allowed to take the grass, you can't take the grass next to the tilton, the fenugreek, because that will cause the fenugreek to fall, and nobody wants to fall in the stock market. Or another answer, kan le'odom, kan le'behema. Depends what, kan le'odom, kan le'behema. If it's for human consumption, then what? It's not good. If it's for behema, it is good. Why? The keva de le'behema hu dezoro because he actually planted those stalks, especially for his animals as animal fodder. That's why he planted the tilton, the fenugreek. Asavim nami miboile. He also wants to have a side dish for the animal called a savim. If this is an animal grazing area, because you see the stalks are growing and they're meant for animals, mistameda asavim, the herbs or the weeds, are also for behema. So just stay out of there. The whole thing is meyuchad for the person's own animal. How tactless can you be and go there with your behema? That's not allowed. A practical question which Baruch would have asked, but the Gemara is doing your job. I'm not a prophet, and I'm definitely not into agriculture. How do I know if the purpose of the growth of the of the tilton is for humans, for animals? If it's for humans, they can take the asovim. Yeah, then my bestie, the cow, can graze next to it, next to the tilton. But if it's for animal consumption, then bestie and I will go somewhere else. How do I know? I don't know what his purpose is. The guy's not around. The agriculture, where is he now? I don't know. Venezuela. So where is that? Omer of Popo. Yes, there's a way to know. Shari mishari leodom. Shari mishari. If it grows nicely, like a nice flower patch, yeah, like a garden patch, like a vegetable patch, like an aruga, then it's for human beings. It's usually more nicely arranged. It's for humans. Lo shari mishari. If it doesn't grow like I think shari, like arugos, yeah, arugos. If it doesn't grow like an aruga, it grows more wildly without specific order, then it's for animals. Animals just come and eat. They mess up anyways. You know, at some point you give up on tidying the place. It's all animals over there. Come on. Beseder, good, weiter. Next one. The koitz mean netia bechol mokoim. Oh, now, koitz mean netia bechol mokoim. What did we say? Now we are going to a new takono that has nothing to do with feeding my animals. Feeding my animals, I can do three things. There were three takonos. Going to the forest with my beima daka. That's the only place actually beima daka can actually be raised, right? It has to be bred right next to the forest or inside and eat only the big things, right? That's one. Secondly, I can take the thorny bushes as long as they are moist, attached to the ground and not eradicate the whole thing. And the third one is asavim. I can take grass, like the weed, the grass, shrubs that are, smaller, that I'm allowed to take, providing that they don't grow next to specific types of tilton. Yeah. So next time you go out with your cow to graze, you know where to go. What did you do till now with your cows? I don't ask you. I don't give you mussar. But from now on, we know where to take our cows. Having a cow. I gave you mussar. Very good. What? He keeps his in the freezer. That's good. Don't say it to vegetarians, but yeah, you have a point. Good. From Argentina, they come all the way here. The koitmin netia b'chol mokoim. The netia, you're allowed to liktom, is like to slightly cut off pieces of netia, basically twigs. That's even not for the animal. I go to my friend's field and I see a nice, let's say, olive tree or any other tree, and I see some little branches sticking out, and those branches I say, oh, I'll take one and graft it in my olive tree so it should grow better, or plant it in my plantation, in my field, so it should grow. That's a bigger chiddush. It's not like an animal's need, and even that's allowed. And of course, guess what? There's also a lot of limitations here too, as we for sure guessed. Yeah. So now, the koit menetia b'chol mokom chutz migrufios shel zayis, except for grufios shel zayis, which means by every tree, zayis is the first one mentioned. You can't just take the entire thing and not leave some basic thing to replenish from. You have to leave the grufios shel zayis, which we said is like a growth theme the size of two human fists from the ground. However, now we're going to see other things. Pirush Rab Tanchum v'Rabrayis mishum zoken echod. Rab Tanchum and Rabrayis quoted one elderly zoken chacham bezayis kebeitza. Now I don't know if he argues or what, but he says zayis in the olive tree you should leave the size of an egg. That's what you should leave. I find it very difficult to. I don't know what it means really because, yeah. In other words, says Rashi, samuch lageza. Very funny. Rashi says close to the geza. I get it. Not samuch l'shoros. Excuse me, I had my own internal question and answer. I'm sorry. The thing is like this. Rashi says, of course you can't touch the trunk. The trunk in Hebrew is called geza. Shoresh is the root. Geza is the tree trunk. Okay. Now, of course you can't touch the trunk. That's not a twig. It's not a branch. It's not a ball. LMI. It's a trunk. You want to take a what? A piece of branch. That branch, you have to make sure the branch itself, in the place where it's connecting with the trunk, you following the picture? There, make sure that the branch has a kabetza that stays intact, attached to the trunk, and from that point on, you can cut. Because even the branches themselves, you have to leave the base of each branch to make sure that that branch can replenish and grow again. Okay, that we may even grow better, like when we do pruning. That I don't know, but Lamaisa, that's what we say by Zeiss. Okay, now following the same rule, we're gonna have it easier in other trees. Bekonim, in a corner, which is like the cane, the shoot. What do you call it? Like a bamboo shoot, yeah. Bekonim, you have a tree full of like shoots. Ubegfonim, fonim are vines. Min apkak ulemala. Epkak is basically, epkak is no, like when you have, like in canes, in a bamboo shoot, you know how it goes. You have like a knot, like in Hebrew we say, you have a knot, like this spitzele, this protrusion, right? So from one pkak above, leave one pkak next to the main branch, to the main trunk, and from one pkak above, that you can cut, but keep one section between the trunk and the first knot of the branch. Baruch Hashem, B'shar kol ilonos, all other trees, min iboy shel ilan, v'lo min chudo shel ilan. Iboy shel ilan, says Rashi, you can take only from the soft and small twigs, and not from chudo shel ilan, not from the big branches, but from the small twigs. Don't take the big ones, the chad, the strong, the big ones. Take from uboy, which is the small one. Min chodosh shen oise peiros. Only take from the new one that does not yet have fruit. Yeah, says Rashi, chodosh is a new branch. That new branch, which did not yet bear fruit, you can actually cut a piece of that. It will help it grow better, maybe. And there's no fruit yet involved. V'lo min yoshan shu oise peiros. Don't take from an old branch that already has fruit in it. If the fruit is still there, you're stealing his fruit. Of course, you can't steal the fruit. If the fruit are not there anymore, I don't know. Maybe it's still considered, I assume, if it started bearing fruit, maybe you're like me'akavit, you're holding it back. I don't know. Lamaisa, if fruit never grew there yet, that's when you can take it. And another condition, mimokim she'en ro'eh sachama. You can only take branches from the side of the tree that does not face the sunlight, the sun. Yeah? From a place that the branches are directly exposed to the sun, you cannot take from there. Because it says in the bracha of Moses Rabbeinu, it says there, when it gives a bracha, it says Mimeged Tvois Shemesh. He gave a bracha to, I think, to Naphtali. No, I think no, not to Naphtali. Who's Meged Tvois Shemesh? Meged Ger Shirochim? From Yosef, no? Yosef, right? Yosef, Megadim. What's Megadim? Not a chocolate. Megadim is nice fruit. Pre Megadim is nice fruit, good fruit. The good fruit, they grow where? Where the Shemesh. Where the sun is. So don't take from his best part. Again, it's very limited. Only the little miscant twigs, only those that don't have fruit yet, only those from the dark side, not from the sunlight side. Only those you can take. So control yourself. Don't take your friend's ganze tree. Only from those specific, less successful places in the tree. From there you can take. Good? Fine. Weiter. Oh, Baruch, I actually did like your question about the Kinneret. It's a very valid question. But now let's go back to Mayan Hayoytze Tchila. So what did we say? You have a Mayan Hayoytze Tchila. You have a new spring that started, how do you say? Springing out? Gushing out? What? Springing, yeah, jumping around. Yeah, the spring started, evolving from a specific, Novea, it's called in Hebrew, by the way, just so you should know the word. The next time you have Nevi'ot, it's Linboa, is to spring out. Mayan, yeah, that's what the verb of what the spring does. Mayan Hayoytze Tchila. So in my backyard, I see a Mayan. Hey, darling, we have a Mayan in our place. Shall we keep it to ourselves or just let everybody have it? Depends on the answer of Tosfos. If it's private because it springs from my place and I didn't work on it, according to one answer of Tosfos, hey, Mister, you didn't work on that. It's not the labor of your hands. That's Hashem's big gift to you. Hashem gifts to you. It's Hashem gift for everybody. Like in a kibbutz, everybody shares everything. Of course they do that, no question. Yeah. So now that's one answer. The other answer would say, you're allowed, as long as it's in your domain, and not in Rambam now. In Tosfos, you're allowed to tell people no entry. Once it starts springing and I would say flowing out of my yard to someone else's yard, then it's not my business anymore. So my I stick to Tosfos. The Achronim ask on the Rambam. The Rambam doesn't make sense so much because most of these, all of these takonis are generous and not miserly. According to Rambam, that's an odd one out. Rambam says only the people of our kibbutz can use it and nobody else. Right? So I'm not with the Rambam. I'm going with Tosfos now. There, Yamshe Shlom also says that. Not that I'm Chas v'Shalom. I'm saying Yamshe Shlom supports Tosfos against the Rambam. Amar Rabba bar Rav Huna, the Noisen Loidomim. The Noisen Loidomim means that he can actually charge money. Let's say I have a spring in my backyard, which I did not work on. So according to some people, everyone's allowed to what? To take water from the spring. Then I would say to everybody, listen, it's okay, you come to take the water, but give me three things only: kesef, money, and geld. Yeah, maybe I can ask for the domim, also dinero. So the leisil chasakavose. Rabbi Bavuna says you can charge for the water. In other words, everyone can have access, like in Shemitah, and you can't tell some people, I don't like you because you didn't give me aliyah. Yeah, so that you cannot do. But to charge money, you can charge. Says the Gemara, leisil chasakavose. No, the maskana is you cannot charge money. And if you're lucky enough and blessed enough to have a springing out of your field, so then you should have everybody enjoying the water and for free. No, none of the three, not kesef, no money, and not guilt. You're right after him. He was, yeah, sorry, you're next. Yes? The who? The Gichon in Yerushalayim was in town. So according to the Rambam, other cities can't enjoy it. If the Gichon starts in a private area, so that's a public. Of course, you have rivers that are public. Not every river starts in someone's house. Of course, then it belongs to everybody, like the Kinneret, I believe, according to some people. Yeah, even in Bet Shemesh, we can have water from the Kinneret. Yeah, I have protection anyways. I have an nephew in Eastern Tveria, so they would give me to drink anyways. Yeah, okay. Weiter. One can wait by the sea of Tveria. I'm joking. Mechakin means what over here? To use a chaka, to fish with a fishing rod, not with a whole net. Mechakin b'yam shel Tveria ubilvad, as long as sheloi fros kela, don't actually spread out a big fishing net underwater as they do, as I saw people doing. The yamid is a spina. And that would cause it will cause the spina. How does our source spin Yabid spina? It will cause other ships to stop, or he puts his own fishing ship there. But what does it mean Yabid? What's wrong with Yabid spina? What's wrong with stopping the ship? What does it mean? So okay. So I'm still besophic in my pshat. Okay. Aval, however, yeah. Sadu bereshosois ubemichmoros. You're allowed to have a reshes or michmeres. You're allowed to have a big fishing rod as long as it's not attached to sticks. In other words, reshet and michmoret. Michmoret is also in Hebrew. Michmeros means like the big fishing nets. You're allowed to have them temporarily. You can put in your big fishing net. 1, 2, 3, bah! But you can't have it there kavua. You can't have it there like as a set thing with the sticks like forever and then take it out every once in a while just because you're like being overstaying your welcome and you're stopping everyone else. And with all the respect, you are not a Naftalinik. If you're from Naftali, then it's fine. But if you're not from Naftali, it's not fine. If you're from any other Shevet, you can't be too kavua. You can have a fishing rod, maybe a big one, but that's about it. Okay? Now, Dono Abonon. Now, very interesting brisa regarding the same idea. Barishoino, at the beginning, the first time they came to Eretz Yisrael, Hitnu shvatim ze im ze. The shvatim made a condition one with the other. Shelo yifros kliya yamid es sfina. He should not be pores. Anybody outside Naphtali should not spread a kliya b'yamid es sfina. I think yamid es sfina means to actually use a fishing boat. I think so. What? With an anchor. Yeah, don't anchor your boat there, your fishing boat there, and just have your station, your fishing station there, kavua, set, then you're not allowed to do. Aval, tzadu b'rishosos u'b'michmoros. You're allowed to hunt the fish, which we call fishing. You're allowed to do that even with the big net, as long as it's temporary. Tanu abonon. So that's very good with what we're saying. Tanu abonon. Now, Rabbanon tell us, Yama shel Tveria, the sea of Tiberia, Kinneret, the Chelka shel Naphtali, Hoisa, that belongs to Naphtali. The one that belongs to Naphtali is what? Kinneret. Not only that, to the south of the Kinneret, he also inherited with the Kinneret an entire piece of land that as big as a cherem. Cherem doesn't mean cherem. Cherem means charomim. Charomim is also a type of fishing rod, a fishing net, a big fishing net. In other words, before entering the Kinneret with your big fishing net, you have to have space to spread out and arrange the fishing net. That also is like an accessory, a byproduct that came together with the Kinneret, and that's owned by Naphtali, because they're the only ones that can have such a big, real serious fishing rods over there, with the sticks and everything, the kayim, ashenema, and that actually actualizes what it says in the pasuk, Yam v'daroim Yerosho. What's Yam v'daroim? Yam is the sea of Kinneret. Daroim is a piece of land to the Darom, the south of the Kinneret. Yerosho inherited that. Tanya, quick, one more line. Tanya Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Omer, Tlushin shebehorim. When they first came to Eretz Yisrael and they fought the wars against the 7 nations, and let's say in a mountain, which is like a deserted place, but that deserted place, the mountain belongs to one shevet and not to the other, and you found Tlushim, you found pieces of wood, twigs of wood disconnected. As long as it's war situation, so each and every soldier from each and every shevet can take that, or even not soldiers, it's part of the shalol. It's still part of we all inherited now, it's what? The booty, the loot. Where now it's part of the loot that we got from the Knaanim, and it does not yet belong to one specific shevet, so every shevet can take the pieces of wood, but as long as it's attached to the ground, that's already a more kavua, standing, permanent thing that belongs to whichever shevet. It's not free for all. It's not up for grabs. Each and every tribe of Israel, we'll discuss that on Sunday. Each and every tribe had all different types of topography, even though it may not look like that in the map, but really Hashem made sure, whatever that means, that every shevet has in the mountain, in the plain, in the desert, and in the emek, each and every one, each shevet had all. Some say it's talking, the Gemara in Bava Kama says it talks about Moshe Mashiach. When Mashiach comes soon and we all come back to Eretz Yisrael, then each one will get a bit of everything. Each one will have like a salad of all types of lands in his possession. Shkoch. Thank you very much. Tizkul mitzvos. Good day. So nice to see everybody here. Baruch Hashem. Thank you. I'm flying to Chutzarts in a week and a little bit from now. In Eretz Hashem. I know